I'm still continuing my playthrough of Seven Pines from the Civil War Brigade series. We're on day 2. This is turn 28, June 1st, 1862, 7 in the morning. And unfortunately, General Smith over at Fair Oaks Station gets a corps attack stoppage again. So that's going to end that. They get to pull away out of small arms range. D.H. Hill's still delaying in the center, but Longstreet is implementing his orders to attack towards Seven Pines, but he meets Kearny's division, and so this is going to not end well. Kemper's brigade ends up taking heavy losses and has to retreat. Most of the exchanges didn't have much effect, but we see in the picture here, Anderson's division is meeting with Kearny here, hitting the flank of the Union position at Seven Pines. The 3rd Corps artillery is limbered and redeployed to Seven Pines, and Kearny's division fires back, but not much happens here, and that brings turn 28 to a conclusion. So we go to turn 29. This is June 1st at 7:30 in the morning. Johnston, of course, sends orders back to Smith to resume the attack at Fair Oaks Station. And then Longstreet now has a corps attack stoppage. Remember, Smith and Longstreet are both 0-rated leaders in this battle, so they're going to get this type of result often enough. D.H. Hill, though, in the center, resumes his attack, and so that's basically what happens. In the Union side of the turn, Sumner continues his attack at Fair Oaks Station. Of course, he's going to do well there now because the Confederates are getting to attack stoppage and have to kind of fall back. They're cooperating with that. We now go on to turn 30, and Smith gets his orders to attack Fair Oaks Station again, but Hood's brigade's wrecked, so he's not exactly thrilled about this, and he needs to roll a 1 to implement these orders. Johnston also sends orders to Longstreet to resume his attack, but these aren't going to arrive, for another hour and a half. And Hood's brigade ends up getting pulled back out of harm's way during this time period. Mostly, not much happened, but Sumner continued to work toward Fair Oaks. That's basically what they want to do, is to make sure they have control of it and not the Confederates. Then we go to turn 31, 8:30 in the morning, June 1st, 1862. And Smith is continuing to delay implementing his orders. Smith, you see along the railroad there on the top left of the map, he still has some units sort of around Fair Oaks Station, which is the intersection of the two roads and the railroad there, and in that area. And you now have Richardson moving into that position. So that's basically what the Union wants to have happening. In the lower part of the picture, on the lower right side, I have a circle there kind of showing Seven Pines. This is the other objective. The Union has a very strong defensive position here. And you can see D.H. Hill is charged with the attack from the left. And then you've got Longstreet, and just one of his brigades is showing on this south part of the road there. These guys have a 2-pronged attack, but they're really having a hard time keeping it going. So we're going to go on now to turn 32, the 9 o'clock turn on June 1st. Most of what's shown in this picture is Sumner's 2nd Corps. They are kind of dominating this, and you've got Howard's brigade with the division commander, Richardson, right in direct contact with Hampton's brigade in the woods, just a little bit to the southeast of Fair Oaks Station. And that is the objective here. And Smith is really having a hard time hanging on to this area and keeping his troops in order and keeping that attack going. So the Union's really winning up here. And what you see in the lower right corner of the picture is the flank that's defending Seven Pines. And you've got Casey's division and Couch's division that are shown here. And you can just see a little bit of D.H. Hill's units with Rhodes' brigade in the lower center of the picture. That brings turn 32 to a conclusion. So we go to turn 33, which is the 9:30 June 1st turn. And Longstreet finally gets his orders, but he ends up getting a delay, but it's not a bad delay. It's a 1 or a 2 on the die roll. But Smith is also delaying, so he's kind of losing the battle at Fair Oaks Station. And then Hill is attacking in the center, but his forces are so depleted that he's really doing kind of half-hearted attacks so as not to become wrecked. On turn 34, which is the 10 o'clock turn, we have Longstreet delaying, Smith delaying, and D.H. Hill in the center making piecemeal attacks against the Union center. So not much is happening there. On the Union part of the turn, I have Meagher's brigade advance toward Fair Oaks Station, and Sumner now wants to defend this because he's captured it, so they're going in default defense. But Meagher is in small arms fire, so even without orders, the rebels can fire on him because you see the enemy, you shoot the enemy is how this works. So that's kind of what happened on turn 34. Then we go on to turn 35, which is 10:30, and Hill's division now has become wrecked. This is the division in the center, as shown in the picture on the Williamsburg Pike. The division is wrecked, and he ends up rolling what would be called a corps attack stoppage. So he has to get out of small arms fire range. They're not really making any progress. And then Smith's left wing is shown on the top left of the picture, circled. They have orders to resume the attack at Fair Oaks Station, which is now occupied by Meagher's brigade, but they're in delay. And then at the very south part of the picture, I have Longstreet's right wing is circled with Anderson's division, and these guys have orders to attack the flank here into Seven Pines, but they are also in delay, so not much is happening. But Johnston's army is really depleted, and only Longstreet's wing here has much strength left, but the terrain is prohibitive here, so the attacks aren't going that well. We go on to turn 36, which is 11 o'clock on June 1st. General Smith continues to delay implementing his orders. Longstreet delays, and there's basically no fire. So General Hood and General Hampton work on recovering stragglers in their brigades, and that's effective, and Hood is no longer wrecked. And over in the center, at D.H. Hill's location, Rhodes' brigade recovers his straggler, so that recovers the unit, and the division is now no longer wrecked. On the Union side of the turn, things are going fairly well for them right now, but Heintzelman, who's the de facto commander of the Union Army here, is starting to have low ammunition for the artillery. They're down to only 7 points. So even though they have all these cannon, they just don't have the points to fire them in an attack especially. So he's got to be a little bit conservative here. But the Second Corps is in really good shape. So Heintzelman decides that Sumner should go ahead and attack and capture the redoubt along the railroad and drive the rebels even further back. And if that's successful, then Heintzelman might be able to turn south and hit D.H. Hill in the flank. We'll see if that works out. Anyway, Heintzelman's orders will arrive to Sumner Second Corps at about 11:30. So we go on to turn 37. This is 11:30. Both commanders, Smith and Longstreet for the Confederates, delay. So General Johnson's patiently waiting at Bridgewater for any news from either of them resuming their attack. And that's basically all that has happened. The orders for the Union, for General Sumner to go in ahead and attack arrive, but they're distorted. So that means they basically, it's like it never happened. So this has to start all over again. But the artillery situation is in such question, it's debatable whether, Sumner should make this attack anyway. We go to turn 38, June 1st, 12 o'clock noon. Smith continues to delay, but Longstreet, who actually still has some firepower and men, decides to finally implement his orders, and he launches an attack into Seven Pines. So R.H. Anderson's division is leading the attack here, but R.H. Anderson's brigade gets some defensive fire and experiences some losses, but they're not dissuaded by that. And this force is depicted in the lower part of the picture here, where you see Anderson and Longstreet trying to drive into Kearny with Jamerson and Berry on either side of him. So we go to turn 39. This is the 12:30 turn. And on the left wing, General Smith is still delaying at Fair Oaks. His forces are still deployed on the Richmond and York Railroad, but he's not really doing anything about attacking Fair Oaks. Longstreet, on the other hand, continues his engagement with Kearny's division, and that's basically what's happening here. Meanwhile, the General Heinzelman's orders arrive to Sumner for a second time, and they're distorted again. So apparently Sumner doesn't really know what to do, so he's just sitting in place defending at Fair Oaks Station. He doesn't understand at all what's going on here, and that is one of the things that can happen with the Civil War Brigade Series command system. You can send orders and they can end up distorted, and you got to start all over again. So that brings the 12:30 p.m. turn to a close, turn 39. On turn 40, the 1 o'clock turn, General Smith finally decides to implement the orders, and now he's resuming the attack at Fair Oaks Station. So that's good for the Confederate player. He's got to try to get in there and capture that. And there's artillery exchanges again, and the Confederate artillery fires and eliminates a gunpoint. I don't think the Confederates realize the Union is so low on supply, but that's how they're handling this attack here at Fair Oaks Station. Anyway, not depicted in the picture is Longstreet and Anderson attacking toward Kearny's division, toward Seven Pines. But that's just basically back and forth exchanging of fire. We go to turn 41, which is the 1:30 in the afternoon turn, and General Smith is now resuming his attack on Fair Oaks Station, and he's attacking Meagher and the 2nd Corps Artillery. So that's pretty much what happens. It's not really decisive at this point. General Longstreet is continuing his attack into the flank at Seven Pines. Despite having setbacks, he is having some sort of success. I've sent orders to General Sumner for a 3rd time as the Union commander, and to counterattack over at Fair Oaks and to capture a little bit farther into the redoubts. And he gets a delay this time, so at least it's not distorted, but he isn't going to implement until he gets a die roll of a 1 or a 2. That pretty much is all that happened on turn 41. So we go to turn 42. This is the 2 o'clock turn. And what I've done here, continued with showing the picture here from the south of Seven Pines. This time I'm looking at Longstreet's attack, and I have a note on the map here, intense combat. So these guys are really getting into it at close range when they have opportunity to, and they're pushing each other back and forth while depleting each other. And amazingly, Longstreet is not rolling attack stoppage. Anyway, that is basically what happened on turn 42, the 2 o'clock turn. So I'd like to thank you for watching, and stay tuned if you'd like to see how the rest of this day goes on the battlefield.